right, it's rolling.
Welcome, everybody, to the PHDJ podcast. My name is Mike.
Hey, it's Joe.
We have a special guest, although no stranger to our listeners. Everybody say hello to Digital Dave Lander. Welcome, Dave.
What is up? How are you guys doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022. Everything good?
Yeah. Everything.
Did you hear last week's show, Dave?
I did.
So how did you feel when I referred to you as the Don Rickles of the DJ industry? I hope you take that as a compliment, because I meant it in the best possible way. How'd you feel about that?
I did take it as a compliment. And, one thing about being a guest on, any podcast, I think that a lot of people don't do is preparing. I think a lot of people just they might be knowledgeable about the subject they're talking about, but just kind of hop on and wing it. And so I try to put in effort and work beforehand and, be as prepared as possible.
Yeah, man.
Well, and that's what we're counting on, because Dave basically reached out to me a few weeks ago when we did our A through Z party songs, and he said he had his own list, which, as Joe and I talked about, means he's basically going to school us on what we should be saying. So we're looking forward to that. But before we get to that, I've got two quick things. So, Joe, did you hear that The Weeknd is coming out with a new album?
Oh, yes.
So you knew all about it.
I knew all about it.
It's called Dawn FM.
Yeah.
It's going to be released on Friday. Tyler, the creator, Lil Wayne, Quincy Jones producing. But the weirdest thing to me is there's an appearance by Jim Carey.
I didn't see that. I don't know.
What is Jim Carey going to be doing?
I think he's playing the record tomorrow night at midnight. I don't think I can stay up for it, but I think he was going to debut it live. You know what I mean? Kind of have an album listening online, but maybe it's some kind of spoken part or something. Surely it's not singing.
I don't know. I mean, Jim Carrey can paint. I don't know if you've seen that. He's
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's another one of those celebrities who's kind of taken up the painting game.
Interesting.
But yeah, I don't know. It's something to look at.
I can't wait for their album. I love The Weeknd.
Yeah. And Dave, before we get to your list, I have to ask you. So I'm sure our listeners are aware. Dave Lander is.
I was going to ask this too. I know where you're going.
In-stadium DJ for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Monday was a fairly historic night. It's not necessarily Roethlisberger's last game, but we all kind of assume it's his last home game. I mean, some people said he should have retired after last year, but be that as it may. So, and the Steelers won. Mm-hmm. So I texted you during the day, Dave, and said, do you know what you're playing as the last song of the night? Mm-hmm. And you said it depended on whether he won or lost. I did not stay up for the game. I was nodding off in the third quarter, so I went to bed. And the problem with watching a game on TV is I try to listen as they go to commercial, but they usually drop their own song in, so it's hard to hear what you're playing.
The stadium, right?
Yeah. So tell what did you wind up doing as the last song of the night?
So, as last, I don't even know what I did as the last song, because we end up playing, music until basically the stadium clears out. But when the game ended, I
guess that's what I mean. The first song at the end of the game. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Right. Yeah. So when the game ended, I played Black and Yellow, which is what we play. I mean, that's like a prescribed plan thing. Anthem. If we win, we play Black and Yellow at the end of the game. Like that is always the case. If we lose, it's not always the same song, but if we win, it's always Black and Yellow. So I played Black and Yellow, and I don't know if your post, I know you didn't watch this live, but I don't know if you're aware, but Ben actually stayed out in the field for close to 15 minutes after the game. And I would say about 60% maybe of the fans actually stayed in the stands and were chanting and cheering for him. And then he did kind of a lap and high-fiving people in the front row.
That's cool.
And crazy enough, ESPN stayed with it for about 10 minutes, which is crazy. I've never seen them. Usually when the game's over, they do a little post game and then sign off.
And you know this how? Did you record it and watch it when you got home, I guess? Okay.
Yeah, I watched the end. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched parts of the game and I watched the end. Right. And so then they went to the Sports Center that comes after it, the Scott Van Pelt Sports Center. He's on for about 30 seconds, and then they go back to Ben still walking around during Sports Center. So they just took it to the end till he walked out. And there's a really cool shot. I've seen some stills of it online. But at the very end, his family,
I saw that,
came out. His kids came out, and his wife came out, and then they walked down the tunnel together. And there's a shot of him from behind. The five of them are walking down the tunnel, and it's just his number, and he still has his helmet on, and it was like a super cool shot. So, anyways, after Black and Yellow, I ended up playing My Hero by Foo Fighters.
Nice.
huge.
And then after that, actually, our producer asked me to play Iron Man by Black Sabbath, which is actually the song. I actually came up with this a few years ago that we normally play the first time he walks out onto the field for the day. So, the first time, if we receive the kickoff, we get the kickoff, he starts walking out in the field, we play Iron Man. And so he had me play that. And then after that, I played Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue.
Nice.
And that was actually the song that Ben left the stadium during that song.
Damn.
So.
Very
huge.
Cool. And again, you talk about preparation. I'm assuming these are all things you thought about well in advance.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was, thinking whether he won or lost, I was kind of like, hey, what am I going to play?
Which way am I
here?
going? Wow.
What am I going to play once the game's over? So,
is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I think he easily is. I mean, he's, fifth in most major statistics. He's won 2 Super Bowls. I can't see him not being a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He came out the same year. It was a pretty quarterback heavy top of the draft. Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Roethlisberger.
Jesus.
Roethlisberger wound up being the third out of those 3 picked. I'd argue he had the best career.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard
Eli. One more time. What was the list?
Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger was picked third out of those. I think he was the 7th pick.
Right.
He dropped the Steelers at 7. I forget exactly where, but I mean, Rivers statistically had a great career, but never made it to a Super Bowl. Eli is kind of hit and miss, but he's got 2 huge Super Bowl wins, but those are his only 2 appearances. Roethlisberger was 2 out of 3.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. And a lot of Eli's career, that the years he wasn't in the Super Bowl, a lot of those years weren't that
very
spectacular.
Weren't glorious.
And an interesting stat I saw about Ben that was been thrown around a lot and talked about a lot this week. In 18 seasons, he's only played in 2 games where the Steelers were not in playoff contention.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So twice in 18 seasons.
So only 2 games in 18 seasons did we not have a chance to. So it basically means he only played 2 meaningless games
that says an awful lot.
Seasons.
Yeah, that says an awful lot.
Yeah.
Very
crazy.
Cool. Very cool.
Legend.
All right, so let's get into your list. Joe and I we started with a numbered song because if you filter your crate in alphabetical order by song name, the numbers come up first. So, and I believe, did we both say 24K?
We
Joe?
did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Agree or disagree, Dave?
Yes. So this is it was funny. Yeah, I think you referenced once or twice is Dave Landers screaming at his phone right now.
I did say that a few times during. I think anytime we talk about music, that's I should just record that as a drop.
Mike is has high anxiety about that. Like it's there's a Post-it note in the corner of his laptop that says, "Would Dave play this? Would Dave play this?"
The irony here is this was one of I think the 2 moments that I was screaming at my phone or wanted to, and it wasn't because of the 24 karat magic, but I think you both, and I know Mike, definitely you mentioned that you only had I think 1999 and 24 karat magic in your party playlist.
In my party playlist, those are the only 2. Are you screaming about 1-2 step? Is that
one 2 step is one of them, and especially now. But just over the past few years, 22 by Taylor Swift is another one.
Yeah, I just haven't had luck with that one. Yeah.
Now, do you play 1-2 step ever at all?
By request. I can't say I ever reach for it. So, I mean, if it is requested by my couples, then yes. But how about you, Joe?
I like it because isn't it in that like 110s or something, or is it slower than that?
Yeah, it's like 113, 112.
Yeah, I have reached for it before, so it is in mine, I believe.
So
Taylor,
which of those two would be, if I only gave you one, which of those
Sierra.
two?
1-2 step all day. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm asking Dave. I'm asking.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Oh, yes. So, well, and then I have another one. This would not be up that high, but it's definitely, I feel like for anyone listening, worth having in your party playlist, which would be 1985 by Bowling for Soup.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's actually, because like that one goes well with Stacy's Mom.
Right.
Same vibe, but also the same tempo range. I also kind of played with Machine Gun Kelly sometimes with my ex's best friend.
I dropped Stacy's Mom the other night, and as soon as that guitar kicks in, the fucking place blew up, and I was like, yeah, and that was my call. It wasn't on their list, and I was like, yes, yeah, that song really it works.
So I'm gonna go with 1-2 step here because of the longevity factor, and I feel like if we were having this conversation 2 years ago, I'd have said 24 Karat Magic in a heartbeat, and I'd say I still play it at most weddings, even if it's not requested. But it doesn't. It's definitely lost a step, just a little step, and I definitely get it sometimes on Do Not Playlist now, along with Uptown Funk, although I think Uptown Funk's more common, and I don't know if they're going the route of, over the past few years, seen Happy and Blurred Lines on a lot of both of those songs on a lot of Do Not Playlist. And I'm wondering if Bruno Mars, not because I don't believe people don't like Bruno Mars. I think there might just be some couples that are like, okay, we've heard this at every wedding we go
that
to.
Played out factor. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Did we get it right with ABC? Because I know that was one that Joe and I agreed on. Did we get it right with the?
You know what? I went with. So it's funny. I feel like most DJs, and I know we came to this. You come to this song later in the show, but I think most DJs are either like you're either an ABC person or you're an I Want You Back person, and I'm an I Want You Back person. Like I hardly ever like ABC. Really only if it's requested for me, but I do play I Want You Back a lot. So I actually went with Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
It's a great one.
It's a great one.
I went with that.
What do you play a remix of that? Do you play the original? So
I play there's a guy out there I believe he's from the UK. His name he goes by Reflex, 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 and he makes these extended mixes that have intros and outros, but he makes them with the original stems of the song. So it's basically an upgraded kind of a beefed up version of the original, but it's very true to the original because he makes it with the stems.
I got a lot of his stuff.
Okay.
So it's and his versions
platform would I find that on?
Yeah,
I think he's on Bandcamp, I believe.
Interesting. Okay.
I believe he's on Bandcamp. And his he doesn't call them remixes, he calls them revisions. So
that's right. Yeah. Reflex revision. Yeah.
The Reflex revision. And I do believe if you search Reflex revision, a ton of stuff will come up. But I'm pretty confident that he is on Bandcamp.
Okay.
If you want to check him out. But
if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I just took my jacket off and I'm writing notes over on my I've got Post-it pad on my right and I just took my jacket off as if I'm getting ready to run.
So the other song that I had kind of put, because I made, I think you guys did the same thing. I just kind of would throw some of my top songs from each letter in the folder and then just deciding between them. The other two that were pretty high up there for me were Ain't It Funny by J-Lo and Ja Rule.
I love that.
I still get a really good reaction from that. And Always Be My Baby by Mariah Carey was, but that one I will play and people will kind of not fast dance, but kind of sing along to it. They won't really slow dance to it usually. It's usually sometimes it'll end up being like a circle and they'll sing along. But I do play that in what I would consider my dance sets. But because it's a little more of a mellow tune, I gave the edge to Ain't No Mountain High.
I heard you.
That's a doors open for Mike.
Yeah, right, that is. I heard you on Alex Nepa's podcast recently talk about the difference between programming for a club and programming for private parties. So is this list that you're giving us, is it encompassing both, or are you specifically trying to do either?
I would really be encompassing,
private events.
Weddings, corporate events, whatever, because for me, programming for a club, you're constantly trying to play new music. I mean, I've always said when I look at my club crate, my club folder, I would say about 2/3 of it usually has always came out in the past 18 months.
Right.
So, you're always trying to play new music. So it's kind of you don't have these quote unquote standards that stay around for a long time in your club crate, and your club crate is kind of ever changing. So, and I know that your list was obviously more directed towards weddings. So I wanted to have kind of the comparative version.
Cool. And speaking of programming, you offer, and P.S., I've learned so much from you about programming from sitting in on seminars and just having conversations with you. You offer an educational thing for the industry for programming?
Yes. Yeah. So I've done a programming seminar that I originally did at the DJ Collective in 2019 in Arizona.
I think I took more notes at that seminar than I've ever taken in a session. Honestly, I was like, boom, 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 scribbling. It was incredible.
Well, I appreciate that, especially coming from you. And so I did that seminar, and then I've done that seminar at a few other conferences. DJ Collective was kind of where I've debuted it, and I've updated it over time. Anytime I do a seminar at multiple conferences, I always add to it. And I've even had a few companies actually bring me in to give this same seminar to their staffs, like multi-ops that have, had, 10, 15 DJs, and they'll have me come in and speak to their entire staff. So I decided that January 26th this year, which is a Wednesday night, I'm going to actually do this on Zoom. I'm going to do the 2-hour version of it on Zoom. So when I did it at conferences themselves, I was usually around 45 minutes. But when I do it with actual full-on companies, I kind of extended it and went into a lot more examples where I very specifically play a sample of what I was talking about and go into a little more in-depth discussion. So January 26th at 9 p.m. Eastern time, because I wanted to try to get a time that was, not going to be too crazy for people in any time zone, so that if you were on the West Coast and interested in doing this, it was still, 6 p.m. and not during the workay for people that do work a day job.
So how do I sign up? Because I'm not missing this. This sounds like a great opportunity.
So I am going to do this I have a page. It's called, it's a Sellfy store. So it's djdigitaldave.sellfy, which is SELLFY.store, STORE. And the link is not up as of when we're speaking, but the store is up, but the link to this specific class is not up, but the link will be up later today. And it's going to be $50 for the 2-hour class. And I'm going to drop that link into the store. The store exists right now, just not the link to the class. But
that's awesome.
It's going to be January 26th for 2 hours. And, I'll definitely do, Q&A kind of interactive if anyone wants to ask questions during it. And this is by far I've done a lot of different presentations at conferences, and this is by far the one I always get the best feedback from, and that I think really changes people's mindsets of what they're doing and how they can improve what they're doing.
And I don't want to speak for you, but I've done seminars on programming. To me, it's the most fun too. I think we just all love to talk about music, and I put drops into mine, and I know you did the same. You played samples of some songs, and to me, it's the most fun for the listener. But I think it's also the most fun for me to present. So,
oh yeah, no, I completely agree. And I remember saying to Brian B. when I did this at the first DJ Collective, I remember saying to Brian B., I've been to so many DJ conferences, and there are always all of these different, presentations about marketing and about MC work and about this and that. And I said, I hardly hear anyone talk about music, which was frustrating to me as a DJ, because I'm like, this is the essence of what we're doing. Right. And I feel like sometimes when you get to conferences, it gets neglected over some other topics.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, back to our list. I had a teacher in high school that whenever the answer was letter B, he would sing it like the Beatles. Letter B, letter B. So do letter B. Yeah, it's so funny how I remember that.
Oh wow. So I'm gonna go with "Baby" by Bieber.
Wow. And you promised me you're not just doing this to be different. You're
No,
Baby by Bieber.
Screw these guys.
I only ever play that by request. That's so funny.
No, I definitely dropped that.
You do?
Yeah.
So Joe can tell you that got dropped by me actually in the mashup competition at DJ Collective this year, and as soon as the little the keys dropped at the beginning, the entire crowd of DJs just sang, "Oh whoa whoa whoa!" like the whole room full of DJs, mostly men,
grown men,
singing along to Bieber. So
yeah, it's one of those things you start singing along to and then realize, oh shit, this isn't cool. I got to stop. But you're caught in that moment.
10-year-old Bieber.
Second. I think so. I think Joe, you had Bye Bye Bye, and Mike had Be Faithful.
Be Faithful was my choice.
And for me, Be Faithful would have been probably a lot of my career, my choice, but I think that was just one of those songs that I just got burnt out on because I played it at clubs. I played it at, I played it everywhere. I played it at clubs. I played it at weddings, private events. And I mean, I've been playing that since it came out in like circa 2000. I just, I think I just got burned out on it. The other two songs that I had that were in close competition were Bottoms Up by Trey Songz and Nicki Minaj and Buy You a Drink. Were the two.
I love those.
Two that I had up there as well.
How about the letter C? And I know you didn't agree with me on this because I went with a line dance. So I guarantee
and I did not. I think this is where
you drive off the road at that point.
No. It was just an eye roll. That was all. It was just an eye roll. No, I actually agreed with Joe with this though. I had "Can't Stop the Feeling" by Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, that was pretty easy for me. I didn't really have anything in close competition with that. And, I think this was already referenced, but that's a song I think that's just one of those, an 8-year-old kid would love it. And, a 50, 60-year-old loves it and everyone in between. It's just
the only thing that frustrates me about that song is it proves that Justin Timberlake has the ability to make great party and dance music, but he does it so rarely. Like he puts out a lot of stuff that just doesn't hit. And yet I'm like, why don't you tap into that guy? Because we could use another song like that, but he refuses to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, that didn't even come out as part of an album. Like, I mean,
that was a soundtrack, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he, other than Man of the Woods, I mean, he hasn't done anything since.
God, it's been 10 years.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, was 2020 Experience, the, Suit and Tie? Was that was 2020?
That was Suit and Tie, right?
So I don't think he didn't have anything after that up until.
So he went 2020 Experience, then went like 6 years, probably 5-6 years.
Some acting, but it's not like he's in a movie a year. So it's not like he shifted his focus to that. I don't know. I don't get it.
So that was 2013. 2020 Experience was 2013.
Wow.
Then Man of the Woods. Sorry,
it's like 2018 or something.
I think he went like 5 years. 2018, right? So he went 5 years without making a record. I don't know.
And then Can't Stop the Feeling was from Trolls, and it was just like a solo single that was not.
That's right.
Didn't come out with any other music. So yeah, and I'm totally with you, Mike, on that. And I remember saying in his early era that I felt like he could be the Michael Jackson of this generation, and I still feel like he could have been. He put out more music.
Something's coming. Something's coming. If you follow like Timberland and stuff, they're working together. They're cooking up something, and I think
I hope so.
Don't put him to bed yet. It's coming.
Letter D.
So for letter D. I went with "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough" by Michael Jackson.
Great call.
So
that is my go. That didn't win for me in the letter, but that is my go-to MJ song.
Wow. Yes. Over Billie Jean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of go back.
That's a little bit more energy for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I go back and forth.
Yeah, that is mine as well. Over Billie Jean as well. I mean, I play Billie Jean once in a while, but not especially at weddings. Like, definitely, it's Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. And Danza Kuduro was probably the closest thing I'd have to compare to it. I mean, that was in my final folder, and I've actually looking at it. I've actually played Danza Kuduro a few more times, but to me, just I don't know. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough has lasted 40 years, and in my opinion, I think you referenced this with September by Earth, Wind and Fire. It's one of those songs that's lasted 40 years and somehow not gotten cheesy.
Yeah. That was my midnight song last week at New Year's Eve. I played that. I dropped it at 11:57 and played it right up until the countdown at midnight. And it was on the Bride and Groom's request list, so that's one of the reasons why I went with that. But I mean, the dance floor was packed and people loved it, and that song brought me right up to midnight. All right, let's do 2 more letters and then we're gonna have to stop this and we'll continue next week. So the letter E.
The letter E, I went with actually same thing you guys did. Everybody Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, I think that's like we talked about. Not only is that the no-brainer, but you don't have a ton of choices with the letter E. It's a rarer letter to.
Yeah, I didn't even have another song in there. Nothing was competing with it. That was.
How many E's do I have? I have everybody talks. Everybody have fun tonight, and every time we touch. Those are my E songs, and my
that Cascada's big.
Yeah.
I have. You know what else I have in there? I'm surprised you don't have this in there, Mike. Empire State of Mind too.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't play that much. That's not. You would think I might because I'm so close to New York City, but yeah, that's not. That's in my hip hop playlist, but not in my main party playlist.
Yeah. So I made a version of that. It's only a little over a minute, but it goes right into the Alicia Keys bridge where it says "One hand in the air for the big city." Ooh. And then the last chorus. So there's actually no Jay-Z in this edit. I mean, I have edits that I play when appropriate with Jay-Z, but like sometimes, I just squeeze in this edit that's just the Alicia parts.
Right. I heard Howard Stern talking about that song recently, and he said, oh, yeah, that's a song where Alicia Keys is singing and Jay-Z starts shouting over her.
Oh, wow.
I think that was a funny description of it. All right, so let's end this episode on the letter F, and we'll pick up next week. What was your F choice? I think mine was Footloose, if I remember.
So no, actually, you guys. So I actually took notes. I listened to both of your original episodes initially, and just listening. I think I was doing work outside of the house in my backyard, and then I listened to them again with a notepad, and I wrote down your songs so that I had.
Well, then I must have changed it at the last minute because I set up a crate for it.
Yeah, no, because I have you guys both marked as "Feel So Close." At least from the way it sounded like the conversation went, by Calvin Harris.
Maybe
I don't think so. I had Footloose, Fireball, and then Feel So Close. So I think Footloose was my top choice. I think I mentioned Feel So Close. So what's yours?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think Joe went first, and then it sounded like you agreed with Joe on Feel So Close. It was, some of these, the way the back and forth went, But anyways, mine was Fantasy by Mariah Carey.
Wow, you love Mariah Carey. That's amazing.
I love Mariah Carey.
You talking Puff Daddy Old Dirty Bastard remix, right? New York's in that.
Yeah. Well, and Scooter did an epic intro, which starts out. So just the beat drops out, and it's literally just the Mariah singing like "When You Walk By Every Night."
Yeah.
So yeah,
and then I think that song, just before we sign off on this episode, has gotten even bigger in the last year because it was, one, you got that Big Lotto song, or Big Energy or whatever it's called, by Lotto. She's not Big Lotto anymore, I don't think. And that's using that same sample, that Genius of Love sample. And then this song was like heavily featured in that Ryan Reynolds movie that just came out where he was like a video game character. It didn't do that great, but I actually watched it on a plane and it was really good. But this song is like played 4 times in that movie. Fantasy Remix by Mariah Carey. What is it called? Sorry. Now before we sign off, I have to find out. Video game movie. Here we go. Oh, Free Guy. Free Guy. It's like the theme song of that movie. Yeah, it's actually decent.
All right.
It's a decent movie. Anyway, so hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We're going to keep it going.
So we're going to pick up next week with the letter G, and we'll try to be less chatty so we can get through the rest of the album.
The first 15 minutes was NFL broadcast.
I had some other stuff I wanted to say about. So yeah, all right.
Thanks guys.
For being with us, Dave. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
See you guys next week.
Back next week.